Sonny, why are you sitting up here arguing with Shayla? The same way you told Shayla what you just told her, you could have told Amber the same thing. And Amber could have told you everything, and then you could have made a decision before you even went to Shayla. You didn't even get a chance to even sit down and talk to Amber. And Amber, even though Amber would have been not thrilled about the fact you didn't tell her, she would have been a lot more understanding. See, right now, you could have been in New York enjoying yourself and having a great time. Instead, where are you at? Sitting there arguing with this girl. Arguing. That's on you. So at the end of the day, you need to figure this out because, like I said, this ain't nobody's fault but yours. Now you better go and tell Amber the truth before Shayla does. Because now Shayla is going to go and tell Anthony about Sonny. You shouldn't have said nothing. What you should have did was told Amber the truth and gave Amber a chance to tell her side of the story. And this is the friend you got, the one that's constantly putting you down. That one that convinced you to sleep with that man, and yet you didn't go to New York with Amber. Well, now you know who you should have chosen. But when Amber finds out, she's not going to be too happy because she's going to like, why did you tell her? So like I said, in the end, take everything that comes with it, Sonny. This was something you should have known better, but, you made a choice. So at the end of the day, you got to take everything that comes with it, unfortunately. So all I can tell you is that you had a chance to have a friendship with somebody that you could have hung out with, somebody like you that got a business and a brand, and yet and still you decided you wanted to be loyal to Shayla. Interesting. Well, this is what you get, because now you're going to be pissed off, and you listen to Jocelyn. Why were you listening to Jocelyn for again? Like I said, Jocelyn got her own godforsaken problems, but, like I said, I find these so hilariously funny. I just do. I find them hilarious, because in the end, like I said, I knew this was going to happen, and it was only a matter of time. So now Shayla thinks you're a snake because you're doing this thing with Mike. It's bad enough she never wanted you with Mike in the first place, and now she turns around. So what are you gonna do now, Sonny? Quit the thing because of Shayla to prove your loyalty? She ain't gonna do it to you. Look what she did to her best friend. What makes you think she's gonna be loyal to you? Interesting. Well, as for her and Angeline, I'm not surprised about that. But let me say this to y'all about y'all in my comments talking about, well, Anthony is a married man. In the eyes of who? Y'all are God. The minute they committed infidelity, they were no longer married. They were no longer in a relationship when Amber cheated on him with Wayne. There was never a relationship in the first place. It was just a shattered glass. It was an illusion. It wasn't real. It was what I like to call a siren phase. So even though, yes, I understand where y'all coming from. I really do. I understand, I empathize, and I sympathize with you. But at the same time, those two were living a lie from the very beginning. So in the end, this is what happens when you sit up here and you try to, live this life, and it ain't everything that is cracked up to be. So, like I said, in the end, you get everything that you asked for. Do I like the fact of this situation? No, I don't. But at the same time, Amber and Anthony should have never been together in the first place. They just shouldn't have been. And now we see why. Because like I said, if what happened as far as Shayla would have happened, would y'all have the same reaction? Probably not. But like I said, in the end, this is what happens. When you sit there and you... How can I put this in so many words? How can I put this? I just feel like in the end, Amber and Anthony shouldn't be together. Amber should have never married him knowing that she still, up until the day of the wedding, was going to be with Wayne. So like I said, I do not agree with any of this. I don't. I don't agree with it at all. But in the end, people made choices. There are consequences, repercussions, and karma for every action. There is a reaction. The problem is people ain't allowed to react. I don't know why, but we're not allowed to react for some reason. And people feel like they can do whatever they want to, and people are not allowed to react. But sometimes reaction sometimes is not always the best course of action, because it's only going to be worse for you, because at the end of the day, the minute you react, that person is already won. So the way I look at it is that sometimes it's just best to walk away and not even be involved in the fight at all, and let them have whatever they have and keep pushing. Because in the end, that person is eventually going to get what's coming to them. Some people may not ever get what comes to them, because there'll always be somebody to save them. I keep telling y'all, with these negative people, there will always be somebody to save them. And in the end, as long as that girl continues to stroke his ego, he's not going nowhere. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. They're not going to say that Kai is not his son. They're not going to go that route. Wayne said he's not doing it. So even though y'all want it so bad to say that that is not his son, that is his child. And that's just it on that. There's nothing that's going to prove that baby is not his unless that baby gets sick. And the only other way is if it turns out that Jasmine lied about that DNA test. Shayla was not with anybody else when she was with Arby. How? So if she was always with Amber all the time, when was she with another man? That makes no sense. That baby is his. And in the end, they're going to have Shayla and Anthony being together and going off in the sunset. And that's just the way it is. It ain't nothing that y'all can do about this at this point in juncture. So even though y'all may think that this is going to be where it's going to come out that that baby is not his son, I doubt it. Very, very seriously. I doubt they're going to go that route. They're not. I doubt it, because they were going to go that route. They would have done that by now. They would have been decided to do that. So, no. Shayla and Anthony are going to be together, and that's just it on that. That's just it. They're going to be together, and that's just the end of the story. So the fact that y'all really believe that Anthony and Shayla are not going to be together, and it turned out that baby is not his, who baby would it be except Arby's? And then it would be a situation where Arby would have to deal with the fact that both Shayla and both lied about that DNA test. So I think the baby is his. I just think both DNA tests were messed up. But if it comes out, cool. But I doubt it. I don't think Wayne and them gonna go that route. I think they're gonna leave it as it is. Leave it as Anthony being the father, and Shayla and Anthony are basically gonna ride off in the sunset, because if it was really about consequences and repercussions, that would have happened by now, and it has not. So being that it has not happened yet, y'all need to let that go and just move on from that, because we ain't never gonna get that baby is not his. That's not happening. They already did it once already, and that did not go well. So I doubt they're gonna do that for a second time. I think it's just gonna be a situation where, in this particular situation, it's gonna be either Rolanda's gonna tell Anthony how she feel about him, and he gonna end up, trying to move on from Shayla with Rolanda, or it's gonna be a situation where, that baby gets sick, and it might turn out that he may not be the father. But they're not gonna make it so that baby's sick. I doubt they're gonna go that route. They're not gonna do that. So in the end, y'all can pretty much hang that up. The dream of y'all thinking that, Shayla and them, this how it's gonna go, I'm afraid not. They're not gonna do that, and they're not gonna make Shayla have any consequence. That just ain't gonna happen. So if that was gonna happen, that would have been happened by now, because they haven't even done the divorce as of yet, and we haven't even gotten that yet. Just like we wanted a wedding, we didn't get what we wanted. They're not gonna do things the way y'all want it. They're gonna do things exactly the way they are. So do I understand y'all point of view? I do. But in the end, like I said, Amber needs to move on.